know if you're a man who needs no introduction, we will introduce you anyway. Mac Powell, been around the music scene for a long time, a very popular artist, a little band called Third Day you may have heard of, and then a successful solo career too. Mac Powell joining us today to talk a little bit about family and music, and we just appreciate you sharing some time with us, Mac.
Oh man, thanks so much for having me.
I want to start with this. So we're all pro dad. We're iMom. We're big into family here. It's our pride and joy to talk about our family. So we give every guest the opportunity to brag on their family. Tell us a little bit about yours.
Yeah, man, I'm very blessed. My wife and I, end of July, just celebrated 28 years of marriage. We have five awesome kids, ranging in age from 25 down to 14. And it's fun having a large family. My oldest, her name is Scout, and she's 25. She plays bass with me on the road. Her husband's my drummer. Then I have a son, Cash, who's 22. He takes people fly fishing at a place in Montana. And then a 21-year-old that goes to Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, and a 15-year-old who plays baseball and is awesome as a little Mac Jr. named Emmanuel. And then Birdie Claire Powell is my youngest. She's 14, just started her freshman year of high school.
Man, you're in it, man. You got all the ranges, all the ages. That's great. And you've adopted some children too. Am I correct in that?
That's right. Our two youngest are adopted. They're 15 and 14 now.
Tell me about that decision, why adoption was important to you.
Yeah, Amy and I, when we were dating in college, we worked at an after-school program. And when you start getting serious about, dating and talking about marriage, we, would talk about, do we want to have kids and what does that look like? And at that after-school program, there were kids from so many different backgrounds, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, and we just loved that. I mean, and we loved those kids. And so we thought that would be so awesome if one day, if this is what our family looks like. And as we got married, a couple of years later, had a kid, and then you have another kid, and then you get to the point where you start, after you've had a few kids and start talking about the future, we remembered those conversations from when we were in college and wanting our family to look a little bit more diverse. Some other things that happened, we had some close friends who had adopted, and we saw the love and the awesome experience that was for those families. And so we started praying about that and started taking steps towards looking into adoption and felt like we were called to do that.
Yeah, very cool. You mentioned Scout. She plays on the stage with you. I did see an Instagram video of you doing the daddy-daughter dance at her wedding. That had to be a pretty cool moment for you.
Man, so awesome. I mean, it's one of those things in life that you just, you see that going to weddings, but until you experience it yourself, do you not quite realize how awesome the moment is.
Yeah. If you were talking to people now that you've got kids who are teenagers and older, if you were talking to someone who's thinking about starting a family, or maybe they're in the middle of like those early years, what advice would you maybe give those parents?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. There's so much involved in being not only married, but even on top of that, being a parent. So I think, we all have to kind of start with ourselves first. I would say you have to really look internally and ask those questions. Am I ready to do this? And am I ready to die to myself a little bit in order to serve someone else? And because there's a lot of sacrifice in being a parent. Now, I will say this. I don't know if you're ever quite truly prepared or ready. I don't know if you can get to a point where you're like, okay, I got it. I'm ready. And be completely ready, because it's kind of one of those hands-on, the job, learning while you're going things. But you also have to just make sure that, you're kind of at a place in life where you are ready to accept that kind of responsibility. I think that's the first step, really.
Yeah. Did you have people give you great advice when you were a young dad?
Yeah. I mean, there were so many people that poured into my life. Really, truly the great example was my own parents. My parents were very loving, very generous, very encouraging to me. And so seeing that example. And of course, just like in any family, it wasn't perfect. There were things that they could have improved on as parents, and I now can improve on as a parent. But they were that was I had a great example to see growing up of what a marriage should be like and what parents should do.
Yeah. You mentioned Scout and your son-in-law, they play on the stage with you. Are all your kids into music? Is that something they naturally gravitate towards because of you?
Yeah, that's right. I grew up with music. Both my parents play acoustic guitar and sing. So I was always, people ask me all the time, when did you start singing? Well, I think I was singing before I could actually speak any
Hmm.
intelligible words. And they passed that love for music on to me. And I, in turn, my wife and I have passed on to our kids. My oldest, as you said, she plays bass for me and is a great singer, a solo artist on her own. My son plays guitar. He did play guitar on the road with me all of 2021 until he got a job taking people fly fishing in Montana, and he thought that was cooler than being on the road with his old man. And then Cami Love, who's my middle child, is probably the most gifted musically of all my kids. But she loves music, but she doesn't really want to be on stage or anything like that. Emmanuel is following in my footsteps. He's my 15-year-old. He has a great, cool voice. He loves making beats on his computer, and he's slowly starting to songwrite. And then Bertie Claire, she does love music and loves singing, but dancing is kind of more her thing.
Yeah. Well, I have a list of accomplishments that you've checked off here in your music career. I hope this doesn't embarrass you too much because I'm going to read them out. But I was just looking down all the things you've accomplished. Obviously, you've been a part of very successful bands in the past. You've had a great solo career, Grammys and albums, millions of albums being sold. What's your biggest highlight from your music career?
Oh, man. I think for me, all of those things are awesome. They're great. Getting the awards and the number one songs and all that stuff. But the thing that sticks out for me is with us and the band is being a band that truly played on our records, remained the same guys for 20 something years. And, the connection that we made with our fans, we had a great fan base that really supported us for many years. And it was a great season that we were in. So of all the awards and things that I can put on shelves and on the wall, gold records to put on the wall, all the stuff, that was great. But it was really the connection, I think, with the fans that really stands out for me.
Yeah, well, I read somewhere that you wanted to be a rock star when you were a little kid. And so it's probably fair to say you achieved your dream to some degree, right?
Yeah, I achieved it. And you know what? I'm even at 51 years old, I still get to kind of follow that path. I'm very fortunate and very thankful. And everything, from this point forward is honestly is kind of icing on the cake. Third Day, we never thought we would be a band for 25, almost 25 years. We thought, man, if we can make a record or maybe two records and tour across the country for a couple of years, then we'll go get real jobs. Well, the rest of those guys went and got real jobs. I don't know what else to do. So I'm here doing this.
Well, I think that's a really cool thing for you to have in your backpack as a dad. You can pull it out occasionally and say, hey, son, daughter, you've got this dream. I chased mine. Go chase yours. Have you used your career as an example for your kids when they've come to you with big dreams of their own?
No, I'd tell them the opposite. Stay in school, kids. Stay in school. Get a real job. No, I do. I try to encourage them to follow the. First of all, you got to realize what your dream is. You got to figure that out, and that's not easy for everybody. For me, it was an easy thing. I had a talent that I knew I loved. I loved singing and making music. There weren't really any other options, and so for my kids, I feel like the world is their oyster. There's many options for them. My hope is that they do follow in my footsteps in some ways and try to make music. But if not, I'm going to support them in any way that they want to go.
Well, you've been doing music professionally since like the early 90s or mid 90s at least, and kids have come along as you've gone through your career. Have you always brought them on the road with you? Have they been intimately involved in your travels, or have you kind of, kept them on the side with all the traveling that goes on?
Yeah, it's mostly them staying at home. It's everybody has all their stuff going on. When you've got baseball and volleyball and things at school, there's really not a lot of time for them to be able to get on the road. There have been times like when Scout was first born, she was a road baby, so she came on the road for probably about a year and a half, 2 years. And of course now she's back on the road with me at 25 years old playing bass. But yeah, the kids come out at different times. There are different opportunities that they get, that we get as a family to go do some things together, doing shows. But mostly they're at home, kind of, doing their things.
Well, I ask you that just so I can ask you this. It's difficult to be a dad who's on the road away from kids. There's a lot of dads that we talk to all the time with All Pro Dad, and then moms that we talk to with iMom who miss their kids and miss activities and miss birthdays because they're working, because they're traveling. How did you handle that as a dad?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, I always, and the guys in Third Day as well, we realize that when you're home, be home. We're gone so much, and we have those opportunities as dudes to kind of, do things while we're gone. Go to a ball game, go to the movies, hang out with, your buds. And so we tried to do that the best that we could on the road. And when we're at home, be engaged, be with your family. There's very rarely someone asked me the other day, where do you go get coffee when you have coffee with people? I'm like, I don't, when I'm at home, I'm at home. There are a few opportunities here and there that I go meet with someone for lunch or whatever. But for the most part, when I'm home, I try to spend the majority of my time with my family.
Yeah, I've been enjoying our conversation. I know Mac Powell from music, and the world is going to remember you as a musician. Those who don't get a chance to meet you, they'll still feel like they know a little bit of you because you've been in their homes, you've been in their churches, they've sung your songs. The world's going to remember you as a musician, but how do you hope your family remembers you?
Well, I hope my family remembers me as a loving husband and a loving father, one that, even though had messed up, I'm sure, a million times over, hopefully made up for that in the way that I loved them and brought them up and took care of them and tried to bring them up in a world that's sometimes crazy, but knowing, that their father and their husband loved them.
Yeah. And I think the message we try to give with All Pro Dad is that takes intentionality. You can't accidentally, just kind of luck your way into that. You got to be dedicated as a dad.
Absolutely. And you have to make sure, I love that word, intention. You have to be intentional about the thing that I learned many years ago as a father is that, and this kind of plays back to the sacrifice I was telling you about, that so often, even especially when they're little, the kids come around, they're tugging on you're sitting on the couch surfing the web or watching your football game or whatever it be, reading your magazine, and they come tugging on your shoulder going, Papa, come play this game with me, or can we go outside? And I've learned, not every time, but the vast majority of the time, 99% of the time, that when I set aside what I want to do and sacrifice for my children, that thing that I end up doing with them is so much better than that selfish thing I wanted to do for myself. And so that's a lesson that I have to keep reminding myself of. And even speaking it out loud, saying it out loud is a good, reminder that's what we should do as fathers and as husbands, sacrifice for ourselves. Of course, we have to, mentally, physically, spiritually take care of ourselves. And if we don't, we can't take care of anybody else. Yet, if we do that, if we take care of ourselves, but at the same time be able to be selfless and be serving, then our life is going to be better.
Yeah, for sure. They'll remember when you say yes. Yeah,
that's good.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Awakening Tour, because that's coming up. It starts in a couple of weeks, beginning of October. How excited are you for the Awakening Tour and getting going in Jacksonville?
Yeah, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, there's some great artists, Casting Crowns, who is also here in Atlanta. I've known them for many, many years. We've toured several times together. I love them and their music and their hearts. We the Kingdom, Ed Cash, who I've known for a long, long time. Most people know him as a producer, but now with We the Kingdom, with his family band, I mean, they make some amazing music, so I'm excited. In fact, I texted him the other day and I said, you have no idea, Ed, how excited I am for us to be able to hang out, because we've never been on tour together and never really worked on any records together. So I love that guy and love what his heart and what he does. And so many great artists on this tour. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited for people to see the show.
I was going to ask if you still get invigorated by shows when they kick off, because you've been doing this for a long time. This is a brand new tour. You still got the butterflies, maybe? You just get excited to get going?
Yeah. For me, I'm a little spoiled brat, because I get to, I still feel like, even though I'm probably the elderly statesman among the group of people and artists, and been doing this so long, I still feel I'm a fan of Christian music. I'm a fan of going to shows, and so I get to, as an artist, be part of the night, but also get a free ticket to an amazing show with a lot of great people. So, yeah, it's especially these kinds of tours with multiple artists. I was on tour in the early part of the year with Toby Mac and Corey Asbury and Tasha Layton, a bunch of great artists. And that's my favorite, where I don't have to carry the night or be, the head thing, where I can kind of just be a part of it and then watch my friends and these people that I love to listen to their music on the radio and on their CDs, and stream their music, to be able to see them and what their talents.
Yeah, I mean, you've been blessing people with your music for a long time, and people have seen you all over the country. If they want to go to the Awakening Tour, how can they get on there?
Yeah, well, the easy thing is just to go to macpowell.com. All the dates are on there, all the links for tickets and stuff like that. And it's starting really soon, like you said, beginning of October. So we're excited about the tour.
Yeah. Well, Mac, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking some time and just sharing your music with us and sharing your parenting wisdom. I hope the people listening really are blessed by it.
Yeah, man, I hope so too. Thanks so much for what you guys do, and thanks for having me.